You're on.
Okay. So guys, scientific notation sounds really hard because a lot of you hear that word science in front of it and you think it's more difficult than it has to be. There is a video that is in Classroom. It's like 30 minutes long, and I know that some of you aren't going to watch it. So I'm going to try to do everything that they're doing in like 5 minutes. Scientific notation. Basically, scientists are the main ones that are going to use it because you use it for really big numbers or really small numbers. Like the distance from here to some kind of outer galaxy. You wouldn't want to write that number because it may be that long across a page. If you're talking about something so small that's microscopic, that's little bitty, it's going to have all those zeros in there. You don't want to do all that. So scientific notation is always to the power of 10. I'm going to do some examples of positive ones. I'm going to do some examples of negative ones, and we're going to go from there. So basically, I've got this number, 4,128. Realistically, we wouldn't do that in scientific notation because it's not that big of a number. But if you wanted to write it in scientific notation, that's the same thing. You put the decimal after the first number that's not a zero, and you write all the way till you hit some zeros. So 1, 2, 8. And it's always to the power of 10. So if the decimal's here, how many places to the right of the decimal? 1, 2, 3. Now again, we would just write that number. We wouldn't write that, but they're the same. But let me give you an example when we may want to use that number. Let's say I had this number. That's a big, long number. In fact, that's my paycheck. Never. Okay.
In
That's
pennies.
Yeah. Probably not even in pennies. Okay. So anyway, if I've got that number, we're going to follow the same rule. I'm going to put my decimal after the first number that's not a zero. I'm going to write till I hit the wall of zeros. 1, 2, 8. Going to be times the power of 10. So if my decimal is right there, I just count how many places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay? Let's do one more example, and I'm doing this one for a reason with the positives. Let's do 4,000. All right. Now, I told you you put your decimal after the first thing that's not a zero, which is going to be there. So it's going to be 4 point. But you've got to write, even though there's a zero, and once we hit zeros up here, we stopped, you've got to go until they're not zeros anymore. So I've got to go 4.028 times 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So that is the same thing as this, and that's a lot easier to write than all those multitude of zeros. Okay, so let's do some negatives. Think about a number line. On a number line, the positives go to the right, the negatives go to the left. It's the same deal here. Let's do all right. We need to move our decimal over to the first number that's not a zero. So I'm going to move it right there. So I've got 2 point, and then we write all the numbers until we hit a row of zeros. Well, there's no zeros. We're just going to put them all. Now, this is less than 1, so we can't do a positive power of 10. We're going to have to do a negative. So if I moved it over 1, 2, 3 places, it's going to be 10 to the negative 3, or negative third. Granted, I'll give you the negatives are a little bit more difficult than the positives, but once you practice a few of them, it's not that bad. Let's make up another number. Let's put 0.0000804. Okay? I'm going to move my decimal over and put it after the first number that's not a zero. So it's going to go there. I'm going to have 8.04 times 10. This is less than 1, so it's going to be a negative. And I moved it over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places. So it's going to be 8.04 times 10 to the negative 5. So if I don't have a whole number greater than 0 on this side, it's going to be a negative exponent. If I have whole numbers, 1 or larger, it's going to be a positive. Contact us if you have any questions. It's really not that hard of a concept. I promise you, it's a little bit of practice and you'll be just fine.